So first of all, thank you to Gallery Vertigo for hosting this and for inviting me to produce the show for this space. So the title of the show is Frosted Blues, and the idea was to take the cyanotypes that I do and give it a little twist and make it more wintry by adding texture or by using a winter theme, something to make it more, a little bit more unpredictable. So how did I start with cyanotypes? Well, in the early 2000s, there was something called a big furor about something called a pine beetle. And the pine beetle was attacking trees, and the trees in their defense created a stain in their wood, which was called denim wood. And so I was looking for a medium to be able to talk about that, and I came upon the cyanotype process. And so at that time what I did is I went out to the Tolko yard, I shot a bunch of photography of the logs that had been affected by the pine beetle, and then went back into the darkroom and created giant negatives and exposed those to make the cyanotypes of all those pine beetle marks. So when I was done that, I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. I wonder what would happen if. And that's always kind of the guiding principle. And so I've been playing around with this or working in this media for over 10 years now. And so I've learned a lot of things as I went along. And so you'll see in the work that I have here a variety of things. So these three little pieces were done by photography that then I printed onto transparencies and exposed them so that they have the actual frost on my patio glass that just I found to be very interesting, and so I incorporated that into those. The one behind me is a wet cyanotype, so that's why it's so intense, is because it's a very long exposure. So the chemicals, two chemicals. People ask me, what are the chemicals? So chemicals are ferric ammonium citrate and potassium ferrocyanide. Sounds nasty, but they really aren't. And you mix them together, and when you mix them together, that makes them light sensitive. So that's what makes this all work. So once they're mixed, you can paint it onto fabric. If you let it dry, you get more of a definite kind of imprint or a definite image. If they're wet, they take a lot longer, and so you get this very kind of almost abstract kind of effect. And so when they're long exposures and the chemicals are wet, you can play with it. You can add things in. So you can add things in like turmeric or ground sumac or coffee grounds or soap bubbles, and it goes on. So this one is probably a 4 to 6 hour exposure. This one would be at the most under lights 20 to 30 minutes. In the bright sunshine on a sunny day, 2 to 3 minutes. So don't leave it out there too long or it disappears because the light will sneak around and you'll end up with no image. So yeah, so this Frosted Blues is a collection of winter images or images that have frosting of one sort or another in them. So the two pieces on the far side over there, the one on the right has all kinds of textured glass. And so that's the frosting there. And the one right behind Charlie is I actually inked up a piece of frosted glass and then printed it over top of a cyanotype. So there's all different versions of things in this show. And it's really my pleasure to continue to explore it and to see what the possibilities are. And people ask me, are you tired of doing the blue and white? Well, to me, it's not really about the blue and white. It's about the process and the kind of surprise that there always is, because you never can totally predict what's going to be the result. And it's a one-off, so once it's done, then that's what you have. And it's not like an acrylic that you can paint over, or you just need to start over and do a whole new one. And the light might be different, the exposure time might be different, so you can never definitely exactly repeat them. Even though it might be the same drawing on glass, it will be different each time that you do it. Where did this start? It started in the 1800s. They were looking for a way to reproduce notes. And so they started, it's before black and white photography. And a guy named Sir John Henschel discovered it. And it was made famous by a woman named Anna Atkins. she did a book of botanicals. So the cyanotype botanicals were on one side, and then the description on the other side. My sneaking suspicion is she wasn't allowed to identify herself as a scientist, but she could produce a book. And so it was a marvelous book, and it really made the process really well known. And for years it was used as the blueprint, so the old-fashioned blueprints, house blueprints, they always had to be kept in light-safe drawers because it was this process. And so that's, so sometimes they're called blueprints, sometimes they're called solar prints, but they truly are a cyanotype. So that's the most official name for them. I know that I think you're going to talk a bit about the workshops coming up, so I won't say anything about the one here, but right on the plinth by my little bio over there, if any of you are interested in a workshop, you can just put your name there and your email or phone number, and I'll let you know when I'm running them, because I run them once spring hits. When it's not so cold outside, it's much easier to produce cyanotypes. So I invite you to do that, or to check this out, or if you have any questions, just come find me after. So thank you so much.